this one I have 6. This is unbelievable amount of garlic. I could have sworn I have way more yellows, but now looking at the amount of red I have, I've got a difficult decision to make. Even though we're in the middle of July now and it looks nice and sunny today and not that breezy, it's been incredibly wet and windy start of July. Obviously in June as well we had a couple of weeks just rain. I've got a young apple tree here that's been totally flattened by the latest storm that we just had a few days ago. I couldn't even actually move it or do anything with it once it had happened because the winds were just strong and the young tree is so heavily laden with fruit as well. And this is actually something that all the apple trees exhibited, where they didn't go through their typical June drop where they would shed a lot of these unviable apples, so basically premature apples that weren't properly pollinated and aren't going to grow into decent fruit anyway. They never went through it, and we obviously had a really nice sunny and warm spring as well. So unfortunately for this tree, I had not thinned them manually out yet because the weather was just so wet. I hadn't come out here with the latest high winds. It obviously was just too much for the tree and it has knocked it over, even though I had it well tied down, and it has fallen to the opposite direction where we usually get our prevailing winds from. So it has literally gone come down from the northeast side. And because the way it's totally flat here, I've already moved it once 2 years ago from the orchard to here, and it's on semi-dwarfing rootstock. I'm not going to try to prop up this tree anymore. The roots aren't vigorous enough to give the tree a proper anchoring that it will need to continue be actually successful, because all of these trees are crafted. They're more likely to get diseases, sicknesses, more damage, so there's no point nurturing this one. I'm going to cut that down. While the tree was lying down and the weight of the trunk was on the root ball area, it was so hard to determine how much of the root actually has been damaged. And it's fairly easy now to see that, like the actual root, the couple of roots, I can just feel a little bit of a pull from 2 areas, and otherwise it wiggles like a loose tooth. So, and what I've just seen from previous experiences with fruit trees is that when the root balls get damaged like that, if they're very vigorous rootstocks, they'll start sending out so many of these water shoots from the roots, because the rootstock is nearly trying to take over the part of the tree that's been crafted to it. So it's taking the vigor away from the main part of the tree, or the tree itself overall becomes just more susceptible to diseases and pests. Seeing how little resistance there is when I'm pulling on the trunk, the little bit of a trunk that I left on the ground, yeah, it's better to physically actually get a brand new tree planted in there that has less of these tap roots established yet, and it can anchor itself then better once it's planted. And I probably have to take some of the borage down from here as well, because the climbing beans aren't getting any access to sunlight because the way the borage has grown too big. So while I'm here, I'll better snip them up. So you see, this multiplied over and over again on multiple branches. This is what caused it. It's the weight, and like these are actually quite hefty. Like there's some weight to these clusters of young apples. So I have 4 in here, and ideally you'd only leave like 2. So half of them should have been gone. And then in this one I have 6. I have another 5, 6, 7, 8. Like that's the weight, and I definitely made a mistake there that I didn't thin them out manually earlier, and the tree would have been fine. I'm quite sure of that, because all the other trees are okay. It was just this one. So compost heap they'll go now into. Now, once everything has been taken into the compost heap, at least I can continue on. And the garlic here is the leaves themselves are actually showing more decay. And as it's been so wet, I haven't harvested them. And I think today I'm going to do it. It looks like it's going to stay dry, and I'm actually going to put them into the greenhouse to dry anyway. So let's see what's underneath of here. I have a mix of elephant garlic that still have their flower heads up, but I've taken the scapes off the hardneck garlics, and I don't really know what to expect from here because I've never grown garlic in these beds before, and I always plant them very deep. The first one is looking promising, but that's not bad. So yeah, I'll go through them. I'll take one elephant garlic from here as well. So I have 3 beds here, and there's some more in the kitchen garden. We'll see what comes out of this elephant garlic. I'm helping them with a trowel from underneath, but as I said, I planted them so deep. Oof, that's a nice chunk. Yeah, they've definitely gone into the clay layer underneath. That's why they're so hard to get out. But that's another nice one. So that's the elephant garlic, and that's the hardneck garlic. So yeah, let me pull them out, because I have otherwise then obviously there's some volunteer calendula here, but I have courgettes, or not courgettes, they're, what are this? Squashes. Yeah, that's it. That's what I have here. I think are squashes. Squashes, that's what I have here growing, so at least they'll get more space then once the garlic is out of the way. So the harvests actually look quite decent. I suppose the one thing I was the most surprised about was how many stones were there. My trowel was constantly just hitting stones as I was digging them up, and I'm sure there's some of these little bulbils from the side of the elephant garlic that have stayed in the ground, because yeah, I had planted them quite deep and my trowel didn't reach them that far down. But there's definitely a little bit of like rot on the outside, on some of the skin. So I'll get them all into the greenhouse and get them dried up. But as far as it goes, yeah, it's nice size. Absolutely nice size. And even like with the hardneck garlic, I actually ended up just slicing through some of the bulbs, because I was digging obviously too close to the actual bulb itself, but they'll be fine. But yeah, a lot of that hard clay ground that's stuck on the roots. So I do have to brush them off a little bit better before we can put them properly to dry. And but no, overall, like it looks like a decent harvest. So, and I don't think I have allium leaf miner in this area, just the rust damage. But let's have a look in the kitchen garden and get the garlic out from there as well. So in this one planter where I had a mix of the elephant garlic again and the hardneck bulbs, oh yes, they're like massive spears. It's very surprising how the hardneck is actually way bigger, like the overall bulb itself is way bigger. Now obviously there's a massive soil difference between the planters here and what's outside, as the planters here have a way deeper depth of this nice loose compost, as the ones outside on the field in the palette colored beds are just a little bit of compost, but then they go into the native soil. So yeah, like in here actually the hardneck garlic is nearly the same size, even actually in this case bigger than the elephant garlic, which should be just opposite. So so the elephant garlic should be at least like twice the size of the hardneck garlic to be comparable. But look, this is even smaller again. Now I didn't fertilize this soil. It's just what the compost is here is spent used compost, well, because I've been growing in it. It's not fresh like this year's fresh compost, but yeah, for some reason the hardneck garlic has done way better in these ones. But I also then have another couple of clumps of hardneck garlic that I left sort of like perennialize in planter sort of opposite of me, and they've been in there for 2 years. So let's dig them up as well and see what the difference is like. Right, so these are all the garlics from the kitchen garden, not the field, but from the kitchen garden. I think I'll get another tray underneath here. It's just there's a lot of soil on the roots still, and I don't want it to be all over the wood chips. They need to dry just a little bit because the soil is so damp. It's well stuck around the roads at the moment. And I can definitely take off the spears as well. It's making it much harder to actually move them around. So the perennialized garlic as such, this is unbelievable amount of garlic. So basically it would have started off like one clove, and obviously it grew over the season and I didn't harvest it. I left it there for the second year. And I have 3 distinctive clumps there, and out of one clove after 2 years, this is what you get. So rather than getting one big one, I have like, I don't know, there's like 20, but obviously a lot of them are smaller. And then there's a couple of big ones. And then there's a lot of these immature singular bulbs as well. And like obviously they can all be just replanted again, just take out the biggest ones. Now, I wouldn't plant it exactly into that same place, but for the amount of garlic, just instead of harvesting it yearly, I left it there for 2 years. This has turned out really well. I'm not sure if I would try this approach in the field, the palette colored beds, because I just don't think the drainage would be as good. Seeing how this year's garlic already hit the sort of stone layer and the heavy clay layer so quickly. But yeah, like this is one big one. I took one of the skins, sort of little bit peeled it off it, clean it up a bit just to see what it looks like underneath, and that's huge. Like this is one out of a clump, and there's a couple of them that are really decent size, like really big ones against just one. So that's a little lazy way of multiplying garlic for yourself. So yeah, that was definitely successful. So I'll get the rest of the garlic here as well, and I'm also going to harvest the onions. So I have yellow senchu onions and then red baron, I want to say, that I planted over last winter or end of last year. And I can see a little bit of mold now on some of the onions, so again, because it's been so wet. So I want to get them up as well and have them here in a nice breezy location just in the middle of the greenhouse. Now the yellow onions here are actually a little bit better exposed, so I can see what I'm digging or where I'm digging than the red ones. The red ones have been well taken over by the borage again here, and I know that the yellow ones I did plant them a little bit too tight, but I wasn't sure which ones are going to actually make it. It was real touch and go. It was a lot of minding over the winter time, so I'm trying to just very, very gently tease them out with the trowel again, just to make sure the roots don't get damaged. But they have been flopping over, which is a good sign. But some of the smaller ones definitely haven't been able to grow bigger just because they were so tightly squeezed between other onions. So I'm just, and then the others, and then the ones that got the space, they have grown wonderfully. And once the onions are up, I definitely have to cut back the Nepeta here, because there's a lot of spent flower heads, and the branches that have gone over, they're just flopping all over the walkways. I can't even walk up and down this side of the planter at the moment. The necks here on the onions, they're actually starting to get a little bit mushy. Yeah, that's best time to get them out now. So I've gathered up all of the onions, and as I was looking at them growing, I could have sworn that I had way more of the yellows, because I think as far as the packets of them go when I was planting them, there was the same amount. Now I know I did have a few red onions in the metal planter as well, but I could have sworn I had way more yellows. But now looking at the amount of red I have, it's just the opposite. Now, a lot of them are like flat shaped in onion as well, because of, again, I had them so close to each other. They haven't been able to round themselves out. But I don't know, yeah, that was very surprising. Otherwise, a lot more of the red has gone to seed, and there's a lot more that is just too tiny. Could be to do that the yellows were more exposed to sunlight than the red ones. A lot of the red ones were totally covered by the borage. I was so worried that I was going to get stung by bees, but I didn't. My arms did get all scratched up because the borage stems and leaves are very sort of hairy, rough. And yeah, so I had to look for the red ones way more than I did with the yellow ones. There's way more of, like, this is the biggest, and this is actually the one that I saw the mold on the actual bulb itself, and that's what prompted me to decide that no, I have to actually get them up. And there's a lot still to go through to see, okay, which ones can be actually stored, and then the ones that have gone to seed, that have the flower heads, and they have to be eaten first. Onions would want to be stored this way around, so that all the moisture from the leaves is going outwards away from the bulb, as with the garlic it's just the other way around. So I have to find a place to actually store them in, bulb size up. But at least with onion you could just chop them up and throw them right into the freezer. You don't have to do any other prep with them. Just peel them and chop them and straight into the freezer, and you could use them easily then throughout the winter season. But yeah, so I have to find a place where to store them. At the moment I think that it's going to stay dry. It's sort of variable cloud, but some of the clouds are darker. I'm going to leave them here during the day and go and cut back that Nepeta hedge that has become a little bit too big around the walkways especially. This year is also the first year I've actually intentionally grown bulbous onions before. I think I once maybe tried the red onions and they failed on me, but I've always sort of been growing the bunching onions, shallots, but not these big proper onions intentionally out of sets like that. So I am really pleased. In the grocery store, I suppose this size of an onion, red onions, yeah, about that size, that's what we buy at the moment. They're about 99 cents per kg, so onions aren't expensive to buy. So it is nice to keep practicing, I suppose, with growing some of these vegetables as well. So I'm not sure if I'm going to grow them again the same way next, like over winter, this winter, next year, but I'm happy with the outcome, and just have to figure out, yeah, how to dry them now. All this older foliage has made such a difference to the overall, obviously, the hedge of Nepeta, and there's so much of this fresh growth coming out, so they're all going to put out again flowers now. It's going to be slightly smaller than the very first flush of flowers, but there's plenty there nevertheless, and the bees are still here hovering. They're still actually gathering nectar even off the stems that are cut down. So, but at least I have the proper walkways back again here, and it's just going to keep the plant, yeah, a little bit tidier now for the second half of the year. And then I don't cut them back again until the following spring. So what I have, like, I gave such a light trim on the top, but mainly for the stems, just to keep it as compact as possible. But come spring, all this branch work is going to fully die down anyway. There's none of it going to stay as any bit structural, so it's all going to be cut down then, basically about maybe an inch from the ground up. It's just a little bit easier like that for the sort of the trimmer. I don't have to worry how I'm shaping it at the moment. It's only for the practicality and keeping the plant shape a little bit tighter, more compact here. But come next spring, it's going to be totally down to the ground again. And as I'm already in this pruning mode, I better give the apple tree here the summer prune as well, and try to thin out some of the apples of one of the tree. I've done the other one already a day ago. I've just found extra 10 minutes of free time and I came and did it. But one of them hasn't been done, and just give it a summer prune as well. Now this apple tree here, I've already thinned out the fruit, and you can see it's still absolutely heaving. And I like even some of them again, if I see that the branch is drooping too far down, I'll actually take another fruit off them, because the bigger they get, and especially if the end branches are so much thinner and like more spindly. They're not as strong yet. Yeah, they're going to be just end up drooping downwards forever. So I don't like that really. I like the branches to be a little bit more erect as such. And yeah, there was a lot of fruit that came even off this tree. So as the fruit is maturing, obviously bigger it's going to get, heavier it's going to get, so more weight and pressure it's going to put on the branches. So yeah, I've thinned it out, and if, like obviously during the summer now, some of the storms that we'll get, some of it is going to get knocked down again. But if I see that some branch is under a lot of stress, so like so this branch actually here is really long, drooping down, even though it has apples on it, I'm going to take it well back away from this level, and they can all go into the compost heap again. But yeah, so most of this is done. Anything that was visibly damaged as apples straight away, I've taken them off, and then it's just down to whatever lets go of the branch easier and what comes off. And sometimes both come off, sometimes all three come off. So it's just a little game of lottery. Look, and I still have missed some of them. So that tree really, let's say this is done, but this tree behind me isn't. But what I'm doing with this tree as well, so obviously I have to thin out the fruit, which isn't too bad here. So for instance in here, this branch, yeah, it has a couple of areas, there's 2 or 3 apples together, and I can see if there's any kind of little blemishes on it, there's potential that the maggots have gotten into them. But these usually have been quite good as apples. But we can see then this fresh growth that I'm going to take at least halfway down. I'm cutting them to the outward facing bud, but I'm being very ruthless about it. And sometimes I find it hard to decide how far back, or should I really cut them or prune them back that far? Like, should I leave the branches a little longer? In here, I don't even think twice about it. I have to keep the branch work within the sort of the planter spacing that's here. The decision is made for me. That's the only way I can have these trees here without constantly running into them. So at least halfway back of all this new, fresh, sort of straight spindly growth, and it's going to just keep the branch work way tidier for me. And then over winter I can go over again and cut out anything else that needs to be shaped better. At the moment I don't see really the branch work shape as much because of the leaves, but I can see where the fresh growth is, and they're going right down to half at least. And as I'm on my way back from the compost heap, there's one bucket of potatoes that I want to harvest from here as well. This is the one that has been, I suppose, showing the signs of being the most ready out of all of them. And I just want to see how they're doing, how they've been growing. And I don't actually even know what variety it is. I'm just hoping by the colour of the skin of the potato I can recognise it, because these are noired. They're the really sort of purplish, blackish stems. I'm not sure what they are as well. I labelled at least some of the potatoes, so I assume that I'd recognise them once I see them. Oh yeah, red Duke of York. That's why I didn't need to label them. The moment you see them, because they are first earlies, so they would have been ready usually even earlier than now in July. And I would have expected more actually out of them. There is a sign of like scab, I'd say, on them. And they're the ones as well, the buckets that the plants showed the disease, the brown black leaf spot on the leaves the most. I assume that's again why the turnover is way less, because these potatoes otherwise would perform really well. Yeah, it's very wet. So I would have had 2 seed potatoes in the bucket. So that is quite a small return now, all fairness. Where will I put them? I'm thinking I'll take another bucket. If that's all that's in them, I'll take another, because I have so many to come. I have another at least 3 buckets. You could just see the foliage size is way smaller overall than those ones on the background, which showed no signs of that leaf spot. Yeah, that's not a huge return now from those size, the 30 litre. 30 litre? I keep always forgetting about how much is in them. No, 30 litre, yeah, 30 litre buckets. But yeah, the soil is very damp inside. So let's take this guy. The potatoes look better once they're washed, but there's definitely scab on the skins. That is quite evident. And I'm just looking at the garlic now again. It actually has dried quite well while I've been outside with you. The skin is, yeah, well, it's more the soil, isn't it? And I want to knock off more. See how much soil is still around the roots. I want to get rid of this, oh, all over, especially because that's the clay soil. So that needs to come away from the roots. And yeah, you can dry up more, because I can't cure them here in the greenhouse as such, because they have to be in a shaded location. They can't be fully inside the sunshine, but I'm just more worried that we'll get rain, and I don't want to leave them outside. Then look how much, it's a whole lump of soil stuck on the roots. And then yeah, there's a lot of little bulbils again on the elephant garlic. So I planted some of them up already this spring, and I'll do the same, because eventually, once you're patient, you see those little bulbils there. Because once you're patient, they will eventually grow into big bulbs. But yeah, so garlic downwards drying. So probably I'll tie them into bunches of, let's say, with elephant garlic, probably only like 3. Probably just put like 3 of them together and hang them downwards, and then onion upside down, well, the bulb upwards. And I have to figure out, yeah, where I'm going to dry them. So sort of a mixed day in the garden, but at least I got to spend a day in the garden, and I was able to catch up with some of these jobs in the middle of summer. So hopefully you enjoyed it as well, and we'll see you in the next one.